Hello, I hope you're doing well today. My name is Josh and I'm part of the customer success team over at Court Reserve, and this video is going to go over the waivers and e-signature add-on. If you have any questions on this video or on setting up this add-on, please feel free to reach out over to our live chat. That's going to be this green icon in the top right corner. To turn on this add-on, we'll want to go over to Settings, and then we'll want to scroll to the bottom of this page over to the Add-ons row, and then once we click Manage Add-ons, we'll be able to enable this add-on, which will then bring up this setup button here. When we get over here, the first thing we'll want to do is go over to the Waivers and Agreement tab, and we'll want to add that waiver into the system using this Create Waiver/Agreement button. First, we'll have the name of the waiver, and then we'll have the version number. This is going to be an auto-generated numbering system for every different version of the waiver. So every time that it is updated, it will get a new version name, but this is also a field that you can manually edit as well if you would like. Next, we have the agreement text that will display above the signature that will have to be agreed to before completing the waiver and agreement, so just some additional information on the waiver. And then next we have the content type. If you use the custom content setting here, you'll be able to copy and paste that waiver into this text box here. If you already have a PDF, what you can do is also upload that PDF into the system. If this waiver is only going to be active for a certain time period, what we can do is enable the waiver/agreement date specific setting, and we can choose the start date and the end date that this waiver will be active for. If this waiver is going to be active indefinitely, we can just keep this unchecked. Next, we'll just want to make sure that this waiver is active, and then we can save those changes. Next, we'll want to go over to the Signing Rules tab. So here is where we're going to set up any rules or parameters for this waiver when it is given to the member on the member portal. So if we go over to Create Signing Rule, we'll have to make a signing rule name, and then we'll have to choose if this is active, and then if this is a waiver that's only going to apply for admins at your organization, we can apply that here, or we can keep that unchecked if it is for members as well. Next, we'll want to choose if this is a membership agreement or if this is going to be just a general liability waiver. And then next, if this is going to be a waiver that is only for specific memberships, we can choose them here, or if we leave it blank, it will show for all memberships. Now, the Apply this rule to following waivers and agreements field will be where we add the waiver itself into this rule. So any waiver that you want the members to see or be given, you'll want to add to this field here. And then we can choose how frequently members will have to agree to this waiver. Maybe it's just going to be one time. Maybe it's going to be a yearly waiver that they need to sign. We can also have it set up so that every time there is an edit to that waiver, they'll have to sign it again. And then there's also going to be an every X amount of months where you can pick how frequently by the month members will need to sign this. Next, we can choose when the waiver is presented on. So we can have it populate when a member tries to book or register for an event. We can require that or make it an optional waiver. Or what we can do is have it show upon login. This means that once a member logs into their account, they're immediately going to be brought that waiver, and they will not be able to access any other parts of your member portal until that waiver is signed. Next, we can require this waiver is signed by all family members. If not, only one family member will need to sign this waiver. And then next we have the instructions. So any instructions that you would like to give your members on this rule for this waiver. Once we save those changes, now we have a signing rule with that waiver set up in it, and the members will be given that waiver depending on when the waiver is presented on. Now if we go over to the additional settings, there's going to be a few other settings that we can set up here. If you would like to give a reminder to your members that they need to sign a waiver, what we can do is enable this top setting, send waiver/liability reminder link, and you can also add an additional message that is added into that email. We can also allow this waiver to be signed at the front desk. If you do that and you enable that setting, you'll then get a URL that your front desk can start using. If your front desk is going to be allowed to sign waivers, what you'll want to make sure is that you have these members set up in the signature queue here, which we'll go over in just a little bit. We can also default allow sign from email to checked when pushing to queue. This would allow members to use the button on their email to sign the waiver once they get that link. We also have this URL here that will direct members to the signing page. So if we click over here, once we sign in, log in, we will be brought to that waiver on the member portal. Next, we will go over the signature queue, how to add members to that signature queue, and what this is used for. So if you have a member in the signature queue, they will show up when you are using this front desk URL for signing waivers. There's going to be a few ways you can find if a member has signed their waiver, and then if not, adding them to this queue. If you are booking a reservation on the admin side, and we add a reservation type and then a reservation name, we'll get a little icon if this member has not signed their waiver. We can see here pending signature right here. So what we can do is click on that. Allow signing from email will be one of the options here, but what we can do is push this general waiver for this member onto the signature queue. You can also do this from event registrant lists or by just going to a member's account. So if we go back over to settings, and then we go over to add-ons, and then we go back to that setup page, we'll now see that that member is on the signing queue. And if we go over to that front desk URL, we'll now see that that member's name shows up. So here we can sign and have that waiver signed from this member. Now I'm over at the member portal just to show you what the waiver is going to look like from the member's perspective. I just logged into this account, and you'll see that this waiver box is going to show up here. Members will be able to view and review that waiver that you have added into the system, and then when they click to sign, they'll be able to add their signature here. If I click continue, save that signature, now that waiver will be signed, so I'll go back over to the admin panel and show you what that looks like. Alright, now I'm back over on the admin side. Another way that you can get to this waivers page is by going to settings, reservation settings, and then waivers and agreements. This will take you to that same page as that setup button. So if we take a look over at the additional settings here, sorry, it was on the wrong page. If we go over to the waivers and agreements page here, and we hit that plus button next to the waiver, we can see some information on all of the different versions of the waiver you have and how many members have signed that version. If we click over here on the number of signed, we'll be able to see the members that have signed their signature for this waiver. We'll be able to view that information and get that information on each member as well as their e-signature and the date and time that they signed their waiver. The last thing I will show you is the waiver report that we have. So if we go over to reports on the sidebar, you'll now see a waivers option here. So if we go here, we'll be able to run a report on all members that have signed a waiver. We can filter by membership type. We can filter by when the date was, or what the date that they signed, from the date to. So if you're looking for all members that signed in the month of October, we can just select those dates, and then we can also filter by the specific waivers in your system. We'll also have a few different outputs here. You'll be able to get name, member number, the waiver that they signed, who signed it, the signature itself, and some information like that. But when we run that report, we'll be able to get all of that information here, as well as little links to those members' accounts. So if you have any additional questions on setting up waivers or on anything brought up in this video, again, please feel free to reach out over to our live chat, this green icon in the top right corner, and we'll be happy to help. All right, hope you have a good day. Bye-bye.